You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men. You're going to be dealing with tribes. You'll be dealing with national leaders and local leaders. You'll be dealing with politics and economics. And you'll be dealing with direct fire and indirect fire. And you're going to be dealing with it all. And it's all going to be dealt with simultaneously. And for that, you're going to have to be ready. And that's why readiness, in my mind, is number one.
Salutations, you guys, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Crisis Corner. I've called this one the Humanoid Reality to explain a few things as far as the world that we're entering in. I led this clip in with General Mark Milley talking about terrorists, hybrid armies, little green men, and tribes. Okay, so this is a U.S. general, and I have the full clip. I'll play it for you guys later in the actual video, but this is a U.S. general coming out and using one of the most common terms for aliens in American pop culture, little green men, and addressing this to the students and the now graduates of the 100th anniversary of the ROTC program. Okay, so that's very, very strange. But at the same time, whenever I started doing, looking back at articles and things that I had posted, things that me and other people have talked about, and just that, the reality that we have humanoids among us, it really wasn't that strange or that hard to put pieces together. So you guys have a little bit of the goals that I wanna go over in this video before you. And without getting into all kinds of fancy words, I'm just going to read it out for you. Altering the human genome, manipulating DNA, augmenting human physiology, terraforming Earth. And then at the end, I kind of want to tie it into a biblical prophecy. The fact that we're living in the days of Noah, that we're talking about Nephilim, giants, X-Men, transhuman, however you would like to look at it, genetically modified individuals that have been prophesied and predicted for quite some time. And now this has become the reality in which we're living. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. So as I said before, I'm going to be talking about General Mark Milley and how he's talking pretty much about terrorists, what we deal with right now, hybrid armies, little green men, and tribes, okay? I felt like a lot of this is alluding towards more of a reality that we can't really comprehend. That we're starting to comprehend and that we're starting to see. Okay, so we're constantly hearing about how the military is involved in shadow ops, black ops, and all kinds of breakaway civilization missions, etc. What this is to me, if anything, this is a form of soft disclosure. So if you follow the UFO phenomena or ufology to any degree, they've been talking about disclosure roughly since the 60s. Okay, and that's usually right around the time whenever Eisenhower made the Eisenhower-Gray Treaty, where a certain amount of people were allowed to be taken in exchange for advanced technology. Okay, and so how has technology just exponentially grown in the past few years? You see, so what I feel like this is in relation to ufology is a form of another version of soft disclosure. What they're trying to do is give a precautionary speech as to what's coming in the future. We're already talking about genetically modified organisms, genetically modified people, designer babies, bionic people, all kinds of different things that would normally seem sci-fi 10, 20 years ago. Okay, but if you even do that kind of research, you can check out my Crisis Corner with Army After Next, which is a precursor to Jade Hill 15, where they also talked about augmenting humans for military purposes. And this is where DARPA comes into play, so yada, yada, yada. And I'm going to play for you guys a clip where we actually have Mark Milley talking, but I wanted to kind of summarize it like this. The fact that we have a general coming out and saying that this is the world that we're living in now shows you where we're going. Okay, we're going to start dealing with superhumans. We're going to start dealing with what we would consider extraterrestrials or aliens. We're also going to start dealing with natives, indigenous people from all over the world, as well as the terrorist cell known as ISIS and whoever else they decide to corrupt. But there's all kinds of different things going on with just this speech right here. So I'm going to let Mark Milley take it from here.
You're going to have to be open-minded and adaptive to be able to deal with the complexity of the world that involves so many different dynamic elements that it's hard to describe in sentences. If the world of 1916 was complex, or the world of 1945 was complex, the world of 2016 is intensely complex. And I can tell you that from personal experience, and I know there's many others who can tell you that as well. And you will graduate and be in that world, and you're going to be leading the soldiers and the sailors, the airmen and the Marines in that world. You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men. You're going to be dealing with tribes. You'll be dealing with national leaders and local leaders. You'll be dealing with politics and economics, and you'll be dealing with direct fire and indirect fire. And you're going to be dealing with it all. And it's all going to be dealt with simultaneously. And for that, you're going to have to be ready. And that's why readiness, in my mind, is number one. You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men. You're going to be dealing with tribes. You'll be dealing with national leaders and local leaders. You'll be dealing with politics and economics, and you'll be dealing with direct fire and indirect fire. And you're going to be dealing with it all. And it's all going to be dealt with simultaneously. And for that, you're going to have to be ready. And that's why readiness, in my mind, is number one.
Leadership, having a strong, sound mind, having a rock, having faith. There are a lot of things in that entire speech that General Mark Milley said without saying. The fact that he said terrorists, hybrid armies, and little green men so nonchalantly shows you that this is something he's already figured out a way to bring up in conversation without affecting him. He's already talked about this. He's already been able to experience it to some degree. He's already aware of this reality, okay? And so now he's just letting the entire world know that this is happening. He's declaring these types of things. The fact that he's saying that it's going to be on us to deal with it means that there's only so much that they can do and that they cannot do. It is upon us now to have leadership skills and a strong, sound mind, discernment, to pretty much have the stones for what's about to come. And that's very, very, not frightening, but it's very, very jarring. Okay, this is a United States general telling you. So I pulled up a few articles that I want to talk to you guys about. And I'm going to be explaining the fact that this is more and more of a reality than we think, and how they've somewhat been alluding to this reality, or at least the idea that they're making people for quite some time. I have an article from June 12, 2015, where they're talking about ectogenesis. What is that? Ectogenesis is pregnancy occurring in an artificial environment from fertilization to birth. Okay. And one of the actual doctors, Howden, predicted that by 2074, this would account for more than 70% of human births. So what I'm trying to get at is the fact that they're trying to put us in pods, as is in the Matrix, or at least that this is being discovered or exposed, so to speak. And you can even look at this type of technology when you take another look into the Dulce underground base, the deep underground military base that is Dulce. Okay, and then you hear more talks about how they're growing aliens, how they're growing these creatures in these tubes, these eggs, these containers, to where they're just fertilizing. You see, artificial wombs for artificial and synthetic creatures. And I know it sounds fantastical. However, that's not the case. This is definitely happening. An example of the idea that they're able to 3D print people, or the fact that they're able to grow people, is the idea of synthetic biology through 3D printing. Being able to create living cells to replace human tissue, a bioprinter, okay, and a biotech firm, Nature Biotechnology, was used to make an ear, bone, and muscle structures out of plastic-like materials and living cells. So let me slow that down for you guys, okay? So I just talked about how they're able to create creatures, or at least have embryos, put them inside of a container ectogenesis, and have that creature, that organism, grow from fertilization to birth, and then I'm assuming they even have higher upgrades, clearly, where they're able to fully grow the human or accelerate the growth of the human, you see. So let's transfer that kind of concept over here to where they're able to already grow human tissue, bones, all kinds of different things, 3D printing organs, 3D printing limbs, 3D printing skin, 3D printing people, synthetic people. And I know this sounds strange, but this is becoming more and more of a reality. The fact that they're able to have this, like I said, this soft disclosure, and they're able to create bones, muscles, tissue, and the exoskeleton of humans, shows you the technological capabilities that these people have and the intentions behind that. You see, another thing that I think is very strange, and I had talked about this in previous editions of Crisis Corner, is the child named Adam. So clearly there's some kind of symbolic connotations to this. This is, if you ask me, this is science and technology. This is the devil trying to play God. This is him saying, oh, well, look, with my creations, with my own technology, I'm able to create life, but we understand that the devil is not able to take life. Okay, so there's all kinds of other spiritual things going on with that. But back to this article. In Kosovo, Russia, scientists and researchers from Vector, which is the state research of virology and biotechnology, have successfully given life to the first baby grown entirely in vitro and created from reprogrammed stem cells. Frankenstein, Dr. Ivanov, and his team, after 2 years of research and experiments, gave life to an artificially created young boy in their biotechnology lab, located in southern Russia. Scientists have named the baby Adam, who was born on the 15th of June 2015 in a laboratory of the research center. He weighs only 400 grams and is barely 7 inches, 18 centimeters tall. But the experts believe that his chances of survival are very good. So here they have us telling us that they're able to create people, artificially created babies, artificially created beings, synthetic creatures. But one of the questions then becomes, who creates the original stem cells? Who creates the basis DNA? Who creates all of the information from which these stem cells are reprogrammed? You see. And then that opens up a whole nother web of problems and questions as far as who's providing the DNA, what the DNA is essentially from, and why we're having it mass produced. You see. So if you guys look at the bottom portion of this slide, and I'll actually pull up the pictures for you, you can see Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus. And I don't know if you guys have ever made the connection. I feel like they look like the Wonder Twins to me, with the similarities in not only appearance, but in behavior, demeanor, somewhat musical gifts, somewhat musical talents, and just their entire persona, their entire modality, so to speak, how they are, is very similar. And it could be that of the generation, it could be that of the genetics that they come from. I'm not entirely sure, but I have always thought that Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus have had this weird, eerie connection. And could it be that they come from the same genetic line, But you're thinking, hey, doesn't she come from Billy Ray Cyrus? Well, it's easy to come up with a handler, you see. I'm not going to go down that path, but another person I wanted to take a look at is Nicki Minaj. She also says she has a twin sister. But from the way that Nicki Minaj is personally, with the way she carries her life, having Roman and 13 other different spirits inside of her, getting out her brother who was a known pedophile from jail, and apparently having a twin sister now, with the way Nicki Minaj is, the way she carries her life, I wouldn't be too surprised if this was one of those synthetic creatures, one of those artificial beings, those clones, so to speak. And there's all kinds of symbolism. She uses it all the time, even in her movie or her music video, Anaconda. Clones, all kinds of different people and things that are going on in there, you see. And the purpose for all of this is for them to create an entire class of people that think that is what humanity is like, to guide evolution, so to speak. That's why we see the MK Ultra, the media culture, being propagated so much, and that's why I'm constantly saying we need to redefine or at least pay attention to what it means to be human. Okay, because whenever we have satanic people, genetically modified people, evil individuals telling us and being idolized, we really have to look at what's going on in the culture. Now, I touched on it briefly, the idea that they have, designer babies. But I have two articles, or at least an article I would like for you guys to look at. And it kind of makes me, I want to preface it this way. I want to have you guys look at this with an epigenetic eye. Okay, I transitioned this from Nicki Minaj, Justin Bieber, the MK Ultra lifestyle, the destructive lifestyle, the satanic lifestyle, the destructive, negative, just all evil stuff. Okay, I transitioned it from that, from them degrading society, to gene wars and designer babies, because we're not looking at things in an epigenetic fashion. Okay, what does all of these drugs do? What does all the alcohol do? What does all this do to not only ourselves, but what does it do to our children? You see, we're not really thinking that whenever we're going out having a beer, we're not thinking about what that's going to do to our legacy, what that's doing to our genetic makeup, why people have a certain proclivity towards alcohol, so to speak, or towards narcotics, or even towards all kinds of different things. We're not looking at it in an epigenetic fashion, what that's going to do for our children. So before you, I have an article, one that's talking about gene editing and how that's the next frontier in America. Designer babies are becoming more and more of a reality. And what does that really mean? What is a designer baby? And if you pay attention to the movie Gattaca, and the reason why I don't want to use any of these Hollywood theatrical films in any of my work is so that we can have an understanding of what's happening factually, what these people are talking about, not what Hollywood's saying, but what the evidence is showing us. What is a designer baby? A genetically modified individual, something from birth that is enhanced, that is augmented. You see, that is designed for a specific purpose. And whenever we're looking at what they're trying to do, them modifying humans, altering the human genome, manipulating the DNA of man, what they're really trying to do is augment humans. And this comes in so many different fashions. It's not very simple, you see. And I'm going to try to gloss over it, or at least summarize it, so you guys can go out and go do your own research. I definitely encourage you to go out and go do your own research. These are just my observations. I'm merely putting them forth to you guys, okay? What they're doing is they're modifying humans. They're augmenting us. They're changing us. And they have the technology to do this, okay? That's why I've called this the humanoid reality, because we have to pay attention to what's going on to the human aspect, how it's also being corrupted, how it's being manipulated, and how it's also being prepared. Okay, one of the aspects of this, and you can go back and look at some of my other videos where I talk about this, is transhumanism. Okay, introducing technology into the body, that's only one aspect. Transhumanism meaning that they'll make someone a bionic individual, or a cybernetic individual, or even a genetically modified individuals. Those are just different branches of what transhumanism is. But the overall category of it is that they are making human plus, making us, or assuming that in our current state we're flawed. And if you had Nicki Minaj and Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber as the idols, I too would say that the human race is flawed. But what these scientists, these technocrats are trying to do is to reconstruct biology. They're modifying and adding different qualities to the human body. Check this out. Flexible e-skin, microscopic 3D printed fishes, cortical modems that connect directly to the brain for electronic telepathy and telekinesis. Transhumanism thinking that artificial intelligence is going to be the new immune system. And just thousands of things, that your brain could be replaced with a neural network, okay? And I know this sounds crazy, but this is where we're going. I mean, look at how fast the technology of the cell phone picked up. And if you checked out my recent video where I talk about artificially intelligent assistants replacing the cell phone, you can see how fast we're coming towards this singularity point, this point at which Ray Kurzweil thinks will merge with technology. Personally, I don't believe it's good because, I mean, if your bank account can be hacked, then clearly your mind can be hacked. And that's a whole nother philosophical debate. But what I'm trying to get across to you guys is the fact that they're trying to design people. So designer babies is only one aspect of this transhumanistic humanoid reality that we're involving ourselves in. You see, I have before you guys 3 different articles from 3 different institutes or 3 different companies who are engaging in what I would consider Frankenstein technology, synthetic biology, artificial humanoids, artificial life forms, whatever you would want to call it. But these people are, well, they're creating life. That's the only general term I can give it to you. From the Valencian Infertility Institute, the Twist Bioscience Corporation, and the Nanjing Medical University. All right, you have Spanish scientists using skin cells to create human sperm. So I feel like that's a chicken and the egg situation. Which came first, the chicken or the egg, the sperm or the skin? You see, you have Microsoft buying synthetic DNA that has a 1,000+ lifespan. Okay, synthetic DNA that they've created to not only be, well, a living, but to be used as storage for information. So that's, I'll touch on that in a second. And then you have Chinese scientists coming out creating fully functioning artificial sperm. Okay, so if you don't understand why that's a little bit strange, or at least why that's a cause for alarm, let me break it down for you. What we're really trying to do, or what they're trying to do, is create life from scratch, looking at life in a biological, chemical manner, breaking it down and saying that it's this many this many proteins, this many iron, this many calcium, this many this da 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 da, and then creating it, and then amplifying it, and then creating synthetic forms of it, fake forms of it, and then reprogramming that to be stronger than the original. You see, right here before you, as I said before, with the Microsoft synthetic DNA that has 1,000+ year shelf life. Okay, so what they're alluding to is the fact that they've allegedly been able to create DNA that has not only technological capabilities and properties to it, but extended or augmented human capabilities. I mean, we're always hearing how our blood is the DNA, how we're how the blood is the data, how the DNA is the code, and it's always being passed down through generations. This is why we're able to see certain traits and certain qualities. What they're trying to do, Microsoft, so to speak, is create digital DNA that can be used for technological purposes. And I feel like that is beyond me, okay? So they're literally turning us into biocomputers. And the fact that we have Chinese scientists now learning how, or creating sperm, we still have to look at who's donating these original, the original cDNA, you see. And as I said before, with the Spanish scientists creating sperm from skin cells, that's a chicken and the egg situation. Which came first? So we have all kinds of different examples as to how these people are creating life in their own way, how they're corrupting or at least augmenting, in their words, the human DNA, the human genome, how we as humans operate. And this is what I really need people to understand, because when we're talking about these silly things such as race, creed, and religion, these machines, they're coming and they don't really care for this type of behavior. We, as humans, we are at a very opportune time because we have this type of technology to come together. However, it is being usurped and used for horrible purposes. We are being manipulated and subverted into a path towards chaos. And there's very few of us who are taking this time to try to bring awareness and clarity to all of this chaos that's going on. But I digress. What I need to get back to is the fact that we have technocrats like Bill Gates, and I have a clip for you guys later on where he talks about how AI is not to be feared; it's actually to be encouraged. And I'll play that for you guys after this segment. But we have people like Ray Kurzweil coming out, Bill Gates, even Elon Musk to some degree, Stephen Hawking, Neil deGrasse Tyson, all of these people that are Bill Nye the Science Guy, who's not even a real scientist. He has his degree in engineering, but well, I guess that could be considered science. But all of these people that are coming out that are pushing this ideology of looking at things in a very scientific manner are technocrats. Okay, and what we have to understand is it's all interweaved. You know, this whole sustainable development, Agenda 2030, cleaning up the world, moving us more towards a matrix-like reality and a matrix world that we're pushing ourselves into. It's all interconnected. But I digress to get back to this slide right here. Extended consciousness and synthetic immortality. What they're trying to do is like an Avatar program or the movie that you've seen, the Avatar, where or even Surrogate, where you put your body in some kind of pod. Oh wow, ectogenesis maybe. You put yourself in some kind of pod, and then your consciousness is transferred into a body, either biological or even mechanical, so to speak. What this is consciousness transference and synthetic immortality, being able to transfer your consciousness into another being. However, it's fake, it's synthetic because you're still extending the human consciousness. And as I've said before, paying an eternity of taxes does not sound advantageous. And there's a number of things that go wrong whenever you start looking at this. And Ray Kurzweil, he talks about bringing back his father. The man takes hundreds of pills a day, but he talks about bringing back his father. He's actually one of the chiefs over at Google's technological department. And there's a number of things that these guys are doing that seem outlandish and crazy. And the idea that they're talking about immortality, well, this is, as I've said before, it ties into cleaning up the world, cleaning up our act, cleaning up carbon emissions, the one world religion. This is why right now people are so health conscious, because we're making that shift towards that world. And what comes with that world is this new technology, this advanced technology, this synthetic immortality, the idea that we can augment humans, that we can make humans plus, transhumanism, and that's what we're talking about here, you see. I have a clip coming up for you guys, and it's a little bit disturbing, or at least I think it's a little bit disturbing, but it pertains to something along the lines of this article where they're saying that scientists have created insect-computer hybrid with a user-adjustable speed and gait. Now, like I said, fair warning, I feel like this clip is very disturbing. I've sped it up so you guys don't have to look at it for a while, but it comes from the modular body, and as I said before, one of the aspects of transhumanism is the fact that they're able to integrate technology with biology. So, take a look. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely got a little bit of a creep going on. Got goosebumps, that's for sure. And I don't mean to creep you guys out, but we need to understand where we're at in the place and time. You guys can check more of that and see other things that they have going on at themodularbody.com, okay? And what that really is transhumanism. As I keep reiterating throughout this entire episode, is the fact that these people are using technology to augment the human condition, and that they feel like we're flawed in our current state. Now, if they have this on such a commercialized level, imagine what they're doing on an industrial or even a international scale. Okay, and one of the proponents of this is, as I've said before, genetic modification, genetic manipulation, and a number of other things. Before you guys, I have a slide where we're talking about biowarfare and how it's targeting our genetics. Bill Gates, who is one of the authors of these genetically modified mosquitoes, going out to go kill the indigenous populations of natural mosquitoes. I don't even want to go down that route. But the fact that and I probably will, the fact that we have these mosquitoes being the perfect weapon of death, where they're cheap and disposable, and there's thousands of them, where you're able to literally just spread out and cause mass widespread death. We're also forgetting the fact that, as I've said before, that this is attacking our epigenetic structure. They're saying that microcephaly is attached to the Zika virus and these mosquitoes, but what we're also forgetting is the fact that Fukushima radiation has spilled, that they're now mixing with these genetically modified mosquitoes, which are superior. So we have superbugs attacking us. This is why they're advising pregnant women, because it's not messing. It's messing with our genetics as well as our children's genetics, our legacy's genetics, the epigenetics. This is eugenics. These technocrats are attacking us at that deep of a level. You see, so when they say, hey, yeah, no, you can totally have these genetically modified mosquitoes. They're perfectly safe for the environment. Release them in Florida. Whenever they're saying that this is one of the most moist years, the best place for a mosquito to populate that it's been in decades. You see, so do you see how they're synchronizing all of this stuff? How these satanic technocrats are just going to town. You see, and it sounds strange to say, but what these people are doing is they're causing a genetic suicide or genetic genocide. They're targeting people. They're targeting entire populations. This is why we're seeing South America go under such attack. There's a number of things that allude to the fact that these mosquitoes that are coming out are the cause of the deaths. If it's not the vaccines, also provided by, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, it's a number of things. So we really have to look at what's happening not only to our genetics right now in the present time, but our epigenetics, our legacy, what these things that we're doing now, what kind of ramifications will they have for generations to come? As I said before earlier in this video, with synthetic biology and how it's able to be vastly superior, so to speak, than human physiology. The fact that they're able to do these types of things and create 1,000-year shelf life synthetic biology or synthetic DNA shows you how they're trying to create, as I've said before, synthetic immortality, how they're trying to make humans better than, or how they're trying to have eugenics at such a broad scale, how they're trying to selectively increase who will be brought into the future. Okay, I have 3 other examples right here of what synthetic biology is used for: synthetic blood, synthetic skin, synthetic organs, synthetic hair, synthetic whatever you would need, whatever could be 3D printed, as I said in the beginning of this video, for a hybrid human being, a spliced individual, or someone who has been augmented. You see, and this is where we need to understand what life is now. We've got the wrong Hollywood conception that life is going to be, clunky robots walking around and all this type of other stuff. we need to maintain a level of normalcy. But at the same time, this is why they're pushing the Overton window. This is why, with all this chaotic stuff that's going on, us having global awareness, us being able to come together, the evils of these people being exposed, this, that, and the third, that's why they're trying to push this stuff out to make it seem like it's normal. Like, isn't it normal that you would want to create human beings? Well, isn't it normal that, eventually all of our science leads up to us just recreating us so we don't have to do anything, us replacing us? Isn't that normal? Because if you ask me, it's anti-human, and I have my own spiritual beliefs as far as what that means and what that entails. But the fact that we're having synthetic biology reach so many different spectrums of life and reach so many different spectrums of human capability shows you, as I keep saying, what they're trying to do. They're doing everything they can except to say what it is that they are doing. They're creating people. They're replacing humanity. They're trying to create a race within a race. You see. And this is whenever Bible prophecy comes into play. And I'm not going to read all the different types of scriptures that are out there for you guys to understand that this has been prophesied. The fact that they're going to have giants in those days before and after the flood. Fallen angels that are still here working with men, giving them technology, giving us information, and all kinds of other things that are going on. I mean, for God's sake, look at the fact that we have Apple. What is that? The apple of Eden that Eve took a bite of forbidden knowledge, this technology. The Germans talking about how they've been helped with discovering rockets. The Thule Society. Nazis, with Project Paperclip, with Nazis now, with the advances in technology that they had. I mean, look at where all this stuff is coming from. Look at the source of it and look at the purpose of it, okay? We really need to really understand what's going on. What they're doing is destroying the house of God so that they can rebuild it. This is why, at the same time, they're having the temples of Baal being erected. The gateway is open. Okay, they have destroyed the house of God. This is why we have people that can go change their gender whenever. This is why we have people that do whatever they want, because there's nothing holding anything back. Before, we had a barrier of discipline, of judgment, of true love instead of this fake world love. But through CERN and through magic, technology, through even our own choices and our own willpower, we have destroyed this barrier. It's through the abomination of desolation. It's through Obama's nation known as Babylon America that this has been prophesied. And what will come out of this? What will come out of all of our chaos? The things that these people do in the shadows. An even darker race. You think we're wicked while we're bickering about color, creed, and all these other things? There are entire species of individuals being grown, being made, tested. I've talked about this before in other videos about the Foundry, how it's an MIT DARPA joint program, how they're getting together essentially X-Men, genetically modified people or genetically augmented individuals, and then testing them. I mean, it gets strange to a point to really start thinking, well, how many different things are going on? These people are walking around right here with us. But at the same time, we're still losing our innate human abilities. We used to be so glorious and so magnificent. We used to walk with God in the Garden of Eden, and now look at us. We're fighting about the color of our skin and whether or not we should add a third choice to the bathroom. We've got men dressing up in tutus going into the girls' bathroom and watch little girls pee. We've got women that think it's okay to step on men's balls because that's what life is. We've got children committing suicide because they don't want to live in this corrupt world. We've got children getting children pregnant. This has been prophesied. And you think this is bad? What will we create? What will the Son of Man be? Will it be robots? Will it be genetically modified individuals? We're not taking a look at all of these things that are going on right now, but we will take a look at Donald Trump being a racist, Hillary Clinton being a liar, and Bernie Sanders just trudging along. North Korea over here on the brink of war with us, China, and the entire world switching over to Agenda 2030, but we cannot understand any of the spiritual ramifications of half of this, you see. That's why I keep saying we need to understand what it means to be human. Bickering about bullcrap is not it. Having an appreciation for love, music, individuality, freedom, the things that we should all stand for, the things that we want, because it doesn't work that way. You can't condemn someone else's freedom and say that that's your own. That's hypocritical, okay? And even it talks about this in the Bible. Let he who is not sin cast the first stone. No one can toss that. All we can do is ask for forgiveness. But in this world that this has become so wicked, look at what we're producing. We're creating an entirely different race of people because we feel or we think that this is appropriate, that we are degrading, and that we need to build something different. And that is very strange. That shows the philosophical, metaphysical, spiritual place of where we are at, the orientation of the human soul. So I'd like to say one more thing in closing, and this is, I'm sorry to go on a preaching rant to you guys, but I had to get that out of me. I have one more thing to say, and then, I'll let this go. One of the things that boggles my mind is how we can acknowledge Satanists and their activity, but in the truth community, we cannot reconcile with God. How does this happen? How do we understand that Satanists are over here praying to Baphomet, praying to Lucifer, praying to Satan, and just and wishing ill will towards us? But we can sit here and say these people are evil, but we will not acknowledge the work of God. That blows my mind. And what's even more crazy, and I hope you guys are reading these things I have highlighted. These are actually from some of my notes from the one on the left hand side is actual biblical scripture. The one over here on the right is my analysis as far as what demons do and how they are. What we really need to understand is that, yes, it's cool to be spiritual. Yes, it's cool to be conscious and aware. I understand that you guys are, just now getting onto this, but we really need to understand all the connotations that come with that. These are advances of the devil. These are people that literally wish us ill will. And while we're over here bickering about this nonsense, they're growing. And while they're growing, we're not. We're regressing. We're letting these people influence us. You see. I'll read this for you guys again, and I've actually said this before, but right here where I talk about the tactics of demons. The first goal of demons is to prevent us from reaching salvation. If that fails, they work at preventing maturity, or spiritual or even Christian maturity. They try to shut us down and make us ineffective. Their chief strategy is to try to get people to turn away from God. They do this from a number of forms of temptation, from harassment and also from challenging God and the true word. Demons lie to us, and they work hard to have us lie to ourselves. Okay, another form of harassment is criticism and accusations, and this is what we feel all the time. This is why we feel like we shouldn't speak out about these injustices that are going on. That is demonic oppression. Everyone is subject to it. Everyone is subject to demonic influence, demonic oppression, even if you try to act like you're not. Okay, every religion, every spiritual belief has a negative to it. There is always a yin to the yang. There is nothing which offers perfect peace, okay? So the negative forces which are attacking you are always present. And we need to be aware of this. But the fact that it's on the rise shows you where we're at in this point in time, okay? And the fact that they're creating a sub-race of people, altering the human genome, manipulating our DNA, shows you that these adversarial people, the demons, these technocrats, these satanic Luciferians, it shows you the mindset of what they're trying to do. They're trying to wipe out the entire world, the entire God-given natural birthed people, and replace it with these synthetic beings. Because whether or not you believe it, you don't have to believe me. I understand if you don't want to, but God loves you. You were made in His image. This is why we are creators. This is why we're able to express such beauty in so many different ways. So whether or not you want God to love you, He does, okay? These people do not. And this is why they're creating something to replace you. Period. There is nothing beneficial to this, and this is why I let in the clip with General Mark Milley talking about how in the coming years we're going to have the stones. We're going to have the leadership skills, the courage, and the boldness that it's going to take to get us through these hard and perilous times. And that's why we all need to double down on our efforts, because whether we like it or not, we're engaged in the spiritual war. And it's our duty to step up and do what we can. We all have roles to play. But that's all I really got for you guys. And I want to say thank you, really, for paying attention to this edition, because if you didn't know, I definitely went through my own trials. And it's been a minute since I've gotten back to my work, but here we are talking about even stranger things. But it would seem as though God does work in mysterious ways, and He's opened up doors for me. So thank you guys for tuning into this edition of Crisis Corner. If you guys look right here in the corner, you will see that not only is my Freedom Faction symbol there, but the Noise Era symbol, where you guys can check out some of my music, my free EP, Phobos et Unos. You can download it. It's 8 tracks free. Go out and go get it. Go listen to it. I'm making music outside of co-hosting with Lori on 3 Minutes to Midnight. We actually have, I think, Pastor Tim Thompson coming up this week. It's going to be a great episode. I'm super excited to do it. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff, exposing the satanic Illuminati and all the evil practices that are going on, and all kinds of different things. And if you guys haven't, please check out some of my exclusive content. Me and a team of people are working on trying to figure out how to maximize our efforts, because this is a full-time job. This is becoming a full-time job, and I want to be able to properly deliver information to you guys the way that it should be. But I'm done ranting to you guys, and as I've said before, I really want to thank you for paying attention to this. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll have it in the description bar below. And as always, guys, stay vigilant, expose lies, and share truth. This is Noise Era, Freedom Faction, out.